Hi, I'm Abby McHugh-Griffa, Executive Director of the Climate Solutions Accelerator. And for today's video, I'm going to flip-flop the order in which I normally do things. I'm going to start with some big ideas, things I've been thinking about and learning, and then I'll drill down to some ways to get involved and take action. So, over the past couple of months in these videos, I've talked about healing our relationships with ourselves, healing our relationships with the planet, and today I'm going to focus on healing our relationships with each other. And to inform my thinking on this, I've been doing a little informal research project, asking people who I appreciate and respect what they think it means to be a kind and responsible adult in 2024. And I put the in 2024 thing there specifically because over the past few years, a lot has changed in this world. With the pandemic, Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, and all sorts of other just kind of, big world events. So I think a lot of us are adjusting our thinking on how we want to engage in the world. And I'm going to eventually compile what I'm learning into a column for the Rochester Business Journal. But, a few things that are bubbling up so far, some are very concrete, like you should vote, you should pay your taxes. But others are a little broader about communicating, developing better communication and listening skills, learning to acknowledge when we are wrong and apologize when we are wrong. So a lot of interesting ideas coming out of this, but I think the asking of the question itself and wrestling with this, myself, has been a really productive and just interesting exercise. And I would encourage you to ask that question of yourself and maybe your loved ones. What does it mean to be a kind and responsible adult in 2024? Another big theme that has come out of this is the need to understand and push back on systems of oppression. So, for example, structural racism and the patriarchy and the extractive economy. And so I know, a lot of us are doing that work, but in terms of what it means, again, to engage in the world these days as a kind and responsible adult, that is a theme that is bubbling up as important and that I personally feel really strongly about as important as well. And, structural racism, I think a lot of us are pretty well versed in that at this point. Not everyone. A lot of people still have lots and lots of work to do, myself included. But things like the patriarchy, I'm just starting to scratch the surface of this and understand what it means for me. And oh boy, does it kind of make the brain go, but in a positive way, right? And in a way that I think helps me build community and better understand and appreciate where other people are coming from. And if you've ever watched these videos in the past or been involved with our organization, the idea of the extractive economy and the regenerative economy, I am personally obsessed with. And so again, thinking of that extractive economy as truly a system and an oppressive system that is making it challenging for us to get along with each other is really interesting. And so on that front, our economy has planted a lot of our ideas in our heads about how humans should relate to each other. So, our economy encourages a lot of competition and individualism and the pursuit of self-interest over, thinking more broadly about the needs of the community and the greater good. And I am not proposing that we become a communist nation. That is not it at all. But to understand and unpack how our participation in our economy shapes our thinking and ideas and our relationships with other people, again, I think is really important for beginning to heal our relationships with others. So let me check my notes here. What else do I have? Oh yeah, okay. So of course the COVID pandemic did not help us in terms of relationships, relationship building, and just feeling comfortable in the world with other humans. In fact, I think it set us back considerably, at least for many people. So one thing I am personally trying to do more of is just spend time with other people and get back out in the world and remember my social skills, which I think, did take a little bit of a nosedive during the pandemic. So being intentional about what it means to build community. One of the ways I'm doing this is just inviting neighbors over for potlucks and stuff like that. So simple. But when I think about, building resilience in my neighborhood and wanting to make sure that if some climate emergency should happen at some point, we as a community are prepared to be resilient and supportive of each other, just knowing who your neighbors are is a pretty good first step. And what else did I want to say? Oh, yes, communication and collaboration skills. So when I think about what it means to heal relationships, you know, I'm not always so elegant with my words, especially in those heated moments when I am grouchy or tired or angry or whatever. So developing skills through perhaps nonviolent communication or other, strategies that help us just express ourselves in a way that is not hurtful and harmful. I do believe that is something that doesn't just magically happen, but it is something that we have to cultivate in ourselves and in our families and communities. So developing those communication skills as well as collaboration skills, because to get out of a crisis like what climate change is bringing to us, we're going to need to work together. And again, that does not happen magically. There are actual strategies involved in how you build consensus and what a equitable process looks like, and all those things. I did not really learn them in a concrete way growing up. And so I now, as an adult, am trying to develop those skills and finding that it actually does make me happier and help me have positive relationships with the people around me. So that's the big picture that I promised, and kind of, the ideas that are floating around in my head about what it means to be a kind and responsible adult in 2024. But in a concrete way, what can you do that maybe would involve plugging into the Climate Solutions Accelerator? Well, we do have an AMPed ambassador training coming up on this Thursday, the 23rd of May at 6 o'clock at the Ryan R. Center. And that's just, again, to learn about how to communicate about clean energy technologies and incentives, and to be able to educate the people around you about that. We will help you learn how to educate others and bring others into this work. And if you were looking for something maybe a little different, you could consider getting involved with your local Color Your Community Green team. We have some new teams that are bubbling up, and of course could use more just people power to pull that together and make sure that they are effective. And if you're not even sure where to plug in, I would suggest going to our volunteer inquiry form on our website, filling that out, and we can have the conversation with you about where you might fit in. Because if we're going to heal our relationships with each other, we're going to need, again, to kind of build community, get involved, find where we can work effectively with others. And there's a lot of great existing efforts going on already locally that I would invite you to plug into. So hopefully summer's coming. Maybe you'll have a little extra time on your hands, or are looking for some extracurriculars for you, your family to get involved in. We can provide some of that. Please fill out that volunteer inquiry form and get involved if you're not already, or deepen your involvement. Because, this climate movement is really a great group of people. And so if you're looking to build relationships with others and heal maybe relationships and develop those skills, I think we can probably help you out. That's all. Thanks so much for listening.